bars made with real chocolate and vanilla. Talkies, munch on.
Umubamabamo watulile ngoma. Consistency enables one to achieve his or her goals. But that responsibility comes with its own challenges.
When that time of the month comes, it's never easy, but I must be ready.
Ukunkala kwangu pano padera, nosebenzera abana. Masiku yanangu, yomvwika bwino. Lomba yakini, mvwika lini bwino.
They say you look after wealth, but knowledge looks after you.
In all my years as a wife and as a mother,
something always had my back in painful times.
For fevers, headaches, muscle aches, and backaches, the recommendation is
Panadol.
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 Panadol. Pharmanova, saving lives since 1980.
What is greatness? For Ruth, greatness is Barbara Banda. But to be great, one must fight and not let anything get in the way, so that tomorrow we become great.
For her to be like Barbara Banda tomorrow, I make sure I protect her today.
Trust Hygienics to protect your everyday. Hygienics. Protection today, greatness tomorrow.
Whether ni mayadi olokombo ni bakoko tamatobo never tired ngani bono yeba sheta bono manone sipangono
Good evening, it's a Friday. Welcome to tonight's edition of Diamond Live. We're glad that we're ending the week together. Quite many big stories we've had this week. We're glad you could join us on Monday, Wednesday, and tonight we look at the big one, Kasama, the United Party for National Development, scooping that particular mayor election. It's part of the things that we are talking about on tonight's edition of Diamond Live. Thanks a lot for making time to join us. I'm Cheswa, Kapasa.
And I'm Chimweka, Chileshe. Happy last Friday of the month of January.
And my name is Andrew Mwansa. Glad that you made the time to be with us tonight on Friday. And looking forward to have a big show with you. Obviously, later on during the show, you'll be able to come through and give us a call on the number that is reflected on your screen. But also, you can take advantage of the live stream that is currently running on our Facebook page at Diamond TV Zambia. Drop your comment in the comment section and we'll read your contribution regarding on what we have on the table tonight.
Well, like always, we start this show with Today in Islam. Well, the United Party for National Development has won the Kasama mayor election, polling around 17,647 votes. But the FDD is coming second with 14,303 votes. We have heard the opposition's, claim that the elections have not been free and fair. And we'd like to first of all speak to the FDD, because their candidate in Peter Yuda Chikwete came out second with 14,303 votes. Chifumu Banda is the president of the FDD. We'd just like to pick his thoughts. He's joining us via phone this evening. Mr. Banda, thank you so much for making time to join us on Diamond Live this evening. We just want to understand how you describe the just ended mayor election, where your candidate is coming out second.
And the description is very simple. Taking all what happened during the campaign period, all I can say is that the elections are not free and fair. Not free and fair for the simple reason that as our alliance members went about their campaigns, they were from time to time confronted by violent cadres from the UPND. Some of our members were hacked, macheted. Unfortunately, the culprits were known cadres of the United States National Development. Therefore, a formal complaint was filed with the Zambia Police Service, and all we are waiting for is for action to be taken against the culprit. The main perpetrators of violence in campaigns were our colleagues from the Not only that, we know the matter of fact that some presiding officers were brought into the constitution from other areas. Instead of local people being deployed, they deployed people from outside the constituency. Of course, these raised the eyebrows, because why deploy people from outside when you have equally qualified people from within the constituency?
Well,
basically, these are some explains which we have.
Dr. Chifumu Banda, the electoral process obviously defines ways that you could address your concerns. Obviously, you raised a lot of allegations against how the process was and how the voting was characterized. Are you intending to petition these election results as FDD?
Well, you see, what is that FDD was the special purpose vehicle used by a Tonse Alliance candidate. Therefore, the candidate is a Tonse Alliance candidate. Now, the decision to petition cannot be taken by a president of a political party that is a member of the alliance. That is a decision that has to be taken by the alliance in conjunction with the candidate.
Okay, now
that decision has been taken, although we have a lot of allegations on our table.
Now, when you talk about these elections not being free and fair, one sentiment that stands out by a number of people is that you, as the opposition, when you get to win, you talk about how exactly this is obviously beneficial to the opposition being standing and them being strong ahead of the 2026 August elections. And when you lose, you find a complaint, either that the elections are not fair, they're not done accordingly, and it makes you as opposition look like you are sore losers based off that. What's your comment? Because that is how those who are in support of the UPND and maybe some other neutral citizens might feel about you as opposition.
Well, I do not think I can speak for the opposition, but I can speak for the alliance. We were in the field and we know what happened. Therefore, whatever allegations that we have are allegations that can be backed with solid evidence. However, that said, a lesson that we may learn from these elections is that there is need for the opposition to build the bridges and ensure that we strive towards having representation that reflects all the opposition. In short, the opposition should work together so that we can field common candidates. That done, I think we will be brightening the chance of the opposition doing well in the August 2026 election.
What do you make of the level of unity that you saw from both Kasama and Chawama? Because for Chawama, of course, we saw that you were successful from this by-election. You got a member of parliament, but not the case from Kasama. But if you look at how the members of the alliance and perhaps other members of the opposition had come through, what do you make of the type of support that you saw from them?
I beg you. Starting, can you repeat yourself?
My question this evening for you in this particular case is your thoughts generally on the amount of support that came through from the opposition building up towards the Chawama by-election and more recently the Kasama by-election. Were you satisfied with the amount of support you got from your colleagues within the opposition and particularly within the alliance?
I think the alliance gave all the support that was needed in both the Chawama and Kasama by-elections. Why do I say so? Because I know what happened, and I know which members of the alliance made the contribution. So they contributed in all forms, others physically, others financially, but the bottom line is that we worked as a team.
Well, many know you as a unifier, Dr. Chifumo Banda, but what is happening now in the opposition seems to not suggest what people know you for. You are now belonging to what many describe as an illegal Tonse alliance that is now chaired by Honorable Brian Mundubile. When people say that you have lost touch in terms of unifying the opposition, what do you have to make of this, Dr. Chifumo Banda?
Far from it. If there is one person who doesn't talk about what is happening in other parties, it is me. For the simple reason that as FDD, we have our lane and we're stuck to our lane. Notwithstanding the fact that we belong to an alliance, we have never criticized any member of the alliance because we stand for unity. Now, most of the problems that are happening are problems that are brought to the alliance by parties other than the FDD. FDD has always stood for unity. This is why even when people make a lot of unsubstantiated allegations against us, we have not reacted because we know that truth will set us free. We know that truth will always come out. So for us, we've betrayed nobody and we have no intention of betraying anybody. We are a political party, we have our own manifesto, we have our own policies, and we believe in peaceful coexistence with other political parties.
As we conclude, Dr. Chifumo Banda, since you're speaking about truth, is it true that you're handing over your party to Mr. Brian Mundubile to use as a vehicle for his presidential bid ahead of the elections in August?
That is the joke of the year. If people know what an alliance is, they wouldn't be peddling such lies. An alliance is a collection of political parties that share the same vision. And an alliance always settles for a special purpose vehicle for the alliance to use. So, for FDD, we are a special purpose vehicle selected by members of the alliance. And the collective decision is what takes place each time we sit down to choose a special purpose vehicle. So for us, the question of selling what? Only a person who doesn't understand what an alliance is will peddle those lies. only person who is aimed at scattering, at creating disunity in other institutions will peddle such lies. The bottom line is that some of those lies emanate from people who have an axe to grind with the FDD. As an FDD, we're a peaceful party, we respect other parties, we stick to our lane, and we hope other political parties will stick to their lane.
No, Mr. Banda, you talk about this being a joke of the year, but those who are looking at some of the recent events that have happened within the alliance are the same members of the Patriotic Front, a faction of the Patriotic Front that were very active in the Chawama by-election campaign. We're talking about the likes of Mr. Given Luwinda, Mr. Mao Sampa, for example. Of course, there's Dr. Chimweka as well as a part of this. And they worked very hard alongside yourself and other members within the alliance who were present in Chawama to deliver that win that you have been celebrating as the alliance. Would you agree that the relevance now we're seeing with the FDD is thanks to that faction of the Patriotic Front?
You see, this is why people don't understand what happened. You see, the decision to make FDD a special purpose vehicle is a decision which was made by the alliance. FDD never ever imposed themselves to be a special purpose vehicle. Now, the problems which you are talking about are problems which are internal within Patriotic Front. And I wouldn't want the internal problems of Patriotic Front to filter over to the FDD. No, we stick to our lane, but unfortunately, there is a wanting.
All right.
That's
our conversation with FDD president.
That's all we could accommodate. I think that's what he was trying to suggest is that perhaps the four names you mentioned are not much of a factor, even when, we seem to still have him coming back.
Mr. Chifumbanda, sorry, we seem to have lost the connection there, but are you still on the line? I guess not. Okay. He says, the what's going on within the PF should not have an impact or effect on what's happening within the General Alliance and the FGD being a special purpose vehicle. But I've also been wondering to myself what will happen in a case where, because we're seeing now the new Congress Party led by Mr. Peter Chanda is working with the PF again after, I think they had some issues, but he's made it clear that he's working with the PF again. But that was the initial special purpose vehicle. And once the NCP makes its way back into the Tonse Alliance, where does it put the FDD? Do they still maintain as the current special purpose vehicle, or will they get back? Will they resume with the NCP? That would be another interesting thing to say.
Remember that there seems to me to be two political parties that the opposition would like to use. You've got the NCP, but also you've got the FDD. NCP appointing Makebi Zulu on one end, but we now want to see what the FDD seems to be positioning. Who are they positioning? For
the FDD.
For the FDD.
And it's good Andrew asked the question because according to Mr. Bane, says it's a joke of the year to think Mr. Mundwile will be taking over the party.
What he was addressing was the allegations. There have been allegations that Mr. Mundwile has bought the party, and that's what he was responding to. I wish we had more time with him, because my question was: is it true that Mr. Mundwile is going to be given the presidency in the FDD? But speaking to the issues that you brought out, Cheswa, the reason for why the FDD was being used as a special purpose vehicle was because it was Plan B. Remember that when NCP pulled out of the alliance, the allegations that Peter Chanda raised was that Chris Manizimba and Given Luwinda wanted to unceremoniously change the names of the office bearers of the NCP at the Registrar of Societies. So he felt threatened and he pulled out. And when he pulled out, that's when the FDD was brought in as an acting special purpose vehicle in the meantime. So that's how the FDD comes into the position. But now that NCP seems to have gone back into the faction of the Tonse Alliance, but also what's interesting is that the NCP have invited Comrade Makebi Zulu to be their presidential candidate ahead of the elections, in 2026. But gentlemen, quickly, the elections of today have gone the way of the UPND. Quite an interesting election because there was so much confidence from the opposition that they were going to take this election, owing to the fact that it's a stronghold of the Patriotic Front, but also when the Chawama election results came out, I think what we saw much more prominent was the fact that this is signifying a wind of change ahead of the elections in August. I would like to pose a question now that with what has happened today, is the opposition going to still state that there's going to be a wind of change in 2026, owing to the fact that now the UPND have grabbed a seat that predominantly...
They also say that a single seat cannot determine the election.
Predominantly belonged to the Patriotic Front. Kudos, I think we must congratulate the UPND for winning this election, like we congratulated the FDD.
Well, Elvis Nkandu clearly told you here that
winning
it's not in his DNA.
He said that was a very strong statement.
You would wake up to a rude shock.
What characterized...
And he said it on Diamond Live just a few days ago, for those who maybe didn't watch the Wednesday episode. Those were his actual words.
What characterized the elections in Kasama, I think, is quite shocking, because I think we saw more than 10 ministers going to camp in Chawama. We saw more than 5 DCs. We've seen several members of parliament getting to camp in Chawama, but also we've seen the political advisor of the president, Mr. Levin Ngoma, also going to camp, in Kasama, because they understood the assignment and they knew the assignment was bigger, especially for political perception. And I think this is what the chairman of the UPND was calling for. That look,
the national youth chairman,
the national chairman of the Patriotic Front of the UPND, Mr. Gilbert Liswani, so he had called out some of the ministers that you don't need to be called personally by the president for you to go and campaign. And his argument was that look, if we had so many ministers in Chawama, and if the Chawama election was taken as serious, that could have been the result.
But does it have to take ministers to be in a space to win an election?
Actually, Cheswa, you raise a very good point, because even when Andrew asked this question to Mr. Elvis Nkandu on Wednesday, he didn't want to comment much on that, and we only wonder what is running through his mind, because from the feeling we're getting is that you probably wanted to strongly disagree rather, because if you something he's going to agree with, you would have said. But it makes sense, because again, I've been seeing, for example, the UPND. I saw a post earlier today by the Copperbelt Deputy Youth Chairperson, Akangwa Kamando, who was saying President Hichilema is the only president in the history of Zambia who doesn't go for by-elections to help people campaign. He'll be wherever he is, continue his work. He doesn't go to campaign. We've seen previous presidents where sitting presidents go to help campaign at the by-election,
winning award
to garner votes from the people. But he says President Hichilema is the only president. And if you look at that, we've seen for sure that the Republican president does not show up for these by-elections.
Unless in 2022.
He hasn't shown up for any...
No, he has for in 2022 when the by-election, the Copperbelt did show up, but the rest of the other by-elections is not shown up.
And that's why the members of the opposition within the members of the ruling party within the UPND itself have commended the president for doing that. But the issue of having ministers, again, we need to interrogate that, even when the National Youth Chairman may say that, we need to interrogate that, because let's remember that these are by-elections. In general elections in August, these people will be on their own. Earlier today, I was listening to Dr. Chimweka, who was on the Zambian vote, and he had raised this very issue that, look, they will send a battalion of ministers to be in a particular area for a by-election. But that is just deceiving yourselves, because in August, it will be each one for himself.
And God for us all.
So people will have to campaign on their own. They will not have the support of those ministers. And that's why we tend to see it happen a lot, where you find a political party will be winning by-elections, a ruling party, especially ruling parties. They'll win by-elections, but it tends to be a different situation when it comes to the general election. And sometimes this could be some of the factors. So they may have won this, but considering all the factors, which will not be present in August 2026, that creates a different situation. But even for the opposition, it's not just a ruling party thing. Even the opposition, they'll be busy. They'll have a countrywide campaign that they'll not have time to center their focus on one constituency or one, mayoral seat or councillor seat, it'll be different.
And I wish I asked just one submission to you. I wish I asked Dr. Chimweka on this question, because I think for me the opposition is very confused. At the time that there was a by-election in Kasama, guess what the opposition were doing? To having elections in Lusaka, they were still fighting for positions. One wanted to take over the Tonse and all that. And you're wondering, guys, you, regardless of how divided you are, regardless of who your preferred candidate is, you have a very serious election in your stronghold. Forgo whatever differences you have. Go into an area, campaign. Okay? But we didn't see this. We saw a unity of purpose from the side of the ruling party, where all ministers, like Chimweka is saying, were being camped there, inclusive of members of parliament, inclusive of DCs, as well as the political advisors.
Minister.
Being camped in an area. Why? Because they've shown levels of seriousness in terms of getting that election, because they understood the assignment that, look, we can't, within a space of 30 days, lose two by-elections in a general election year.
But gentlemen, I mean, as we were supposed to go to our guest, for me also, I would like to ask, shouldn't the UPND be also worried if you're going to have the opposition trailing behind with these amounts of votes? I mean, we've been talking about not having an opposition that can really give the UPND a good run in August. Because look at the numbers. The FDD is coming out 14,000, you're talking 17,000. I mean, they lost an election in Chawama. And you're talking the FDD is not a political party that has been very active, in by-elections. I mean, of course, after the death of the founding president...
no, not founding. Founding was Christian Temple.
Not founding, but
immediate past president.
Immediate past, may her soul rest in peace, Edith Nawakwi. The political party hasn't really been active. They only became active because they were being used as a special purpose vehicle using the Tonse. But I think the UPND also need to be really worried about these numbers. Yes, they've scooped this one, but the opposition is trailing right behind them just before.
Those are the same sentiments
that
the UPND had in Chawama, because they're saying, look, Chawama has predominantly not been our stronghold, but we've managed to gather these votes and we've gotten to where we are at. But looking at, again, for Kasama, again, the UPND will take pride because, like we've said, statistics have shown that predominantly the Patriotic Front have been leading in Kasama. If we look at how things have been from 2006, similar to Chawama, from 2006, both constituencies, because Kasama has two constituencies, Lukashia and Kasama Central, both from 2006 have been no other than Patriotic Front. In fact, the current member of parliament for Kasama Central contested under the UPND ticket last time, and she didn't win. She contested under the Patriotic Front ticket, and she won. So all these factors people will look at, and people will see it as this has been a Patriotic Front stronghold, but the UPND, just like, and it's not the first within the northern circuit that they've managed to scoop, they'll probably look at it as a step in the right direction.
Let's also hear from another political party. Well, they've been participating in quite a number of by-elections. I should say quite many. They did not participate in the mayoral one, but they got about 100 votes in Chawama, the leadership movement led by Dr. Richard Silumbe. He's our guest, joining us shortly.
What's better than your bestie? A bestie with blockbusters and bedtime cartoons. GoTV streams your fave soaps, sports, and the loudest laughs. No extra charge, just internet connection. Your shows, your vibes, your anytime, anywhere bestie. GoTV Stream. Download it now.
Meet Lucy, a dedicated professional. Her days are filled with meetings and deadlines, but there is one thing on her mind: getting motor insurance for her brand new car.
But I need to get my insurance done though.
As Lucy begins her car journey, excitement fills the air. But she knows there is something crucial missing: safety and protection. The fear of being pulled over by traffic police looms over Lucy. She dreads the complicated and time-consuming process of getting insurance. Will she find a solution? Enters MGen on my WhatsApp. Just a chat away, this service transforms the way you buy motor insurance. It's not just efficient, it's also extremely convenient. With MGen on my WhatsApp, Lucy can now focus on what truly matters: her journey, her ambition. Insurance simplified. Text HI to MGen on my WhatsApp to easily buy, renew, or validate your insurance. When it's worth it, it's worth talking about.
Pascal's showing his boss the efficient new technology they've installed. She is pleased, but now she's asking, why is that still there? Pascal explains that the wells can store many, many messages. The boss is not so pleased anymore. If you haven't upgraded your contact center yet, it's time to get business done better with MTN Business.
Welcome back. You're still watching Diamond Live. Now, the recently held by-elections in Chawama and the just-ended mayoral election in Kasama have created a heated political atmosphere, and especially as the country heads into the general election in August. The opposition demonstrated renewed relevance in Chawama, the Chawama election, while the ruling party's performance in Kasama suggests it still considers itself firmly in charge, and arguing that a general election should not be judged on the outcome of a single by-election. Meanwhile, the opposition political parties have raised concerns about the shrinking democratic space. They've questioned the UPND's performance in government and called for the ruling party to be voted out of office in August this year. We now speak to the Leadership Movement President, Dr. Richard Silumbe, on the recent elections, the state of democracy in Zambia ahead of the polls. We'll look at governance issues, the rule of law, and the rising cost of living, as well as his party's alternative solutions to the challenges that Zambians face today. Dr. Silumbe, thank you so much for making time to join us on Diamond Live.
Well, thank you very much. Once again, it's an opportunity for me and the Leadership Movement Party to be on Diamond TV.
Let's talk about the by-elections that were announced today in Kasama. Obviously, your party didn't participate in these elections, and it must be, a very peculiar reason, because I think we've been very consistent as a political party in participating in by-elections. Let's begin off from there before we can get your reaction over the results. Why didn't the Leadership Movement participate in this election?
Well, it was a sad situation as expected. There were issues surrounding the voters' card of our candidate, He was rejected because he had not voted. He had a new voter's card. The same thing happened to the Upnd candidate, but for the Upnd they had a plan B. So they managed to replace the candidate in time. By the time the leadership movement was taking a candidate there, the official filing in program was closed.
Some would say that it's lack of seriousness from you, the opposition, to have a candidate that is ineligible. Don't you think you should have done your homework prior to even beginning to campaign?
Well, the problem is, it's not the opposition, but it's happening with the ruling party. Look at what happened in Chawama. The Upnd candidate was replaced by another candidate over the issue of a new voter's card, which, by the way, was not even taken into considerations in the previous by-elections, because people could take a new voter's card and still file in for nominations. But this time around, ECZ had not informed political parties that that would be unacceptable in these by-elections. So what happened in the mayoral filing in Kasama was something that we experienced as leadership movement and the Upnd as a ruling party experience. So this does not depict the unseriousness on the part of the opposition, but the ineffectiveness on the part of ECZ to inform its stakeholders, in this case, the political parties, on the change of the rules of the game.
You've been very consistent in participating, in by-elections, which is not a common thing by most of the political parties. Majority of the political parties registered in Zambia don't participate, in by-elections. For you as leadership movement, what keeps you moving with the consistency in by-elections?
Well, first of all, by-elections, they serve a very important purpose. In this case, for a new political party like the leadership movement, is to sell itself. We want the Zambian people to know that we exist and we have principles. We have a solution that is different from these other political parties. So that actually drives our consistency. We do not look at the number of votes because we know that some of the votes are bought, but we want Zambians to inculcate these ideologies that we preach as leadership movement. You have seen when we came on the political scene, the language was about looking for foreign investors. The language was about insults, insulting one another. But by the time Zambians and other political parties got to listen to the leadership movement agenda, everyone has adjusted. Haven't you ever wondered why no one now comes on this podium and say, we need foreign investors? Everyone is talking about Zambianization. When we talk about whether it's in mining, whatever we are talking about, because we have provided that leadership in the political arena, and we have seen diffusion of these ideas in other political parties. In any case, this is a plus on the part of the leadership movement, because that is why we are leadership movement, is to change the narrative. The narrative was about looking for foreign investors. Now the narrative is about production. When you scan through all these other political parties, they are talking about the same things. And that is thanks to the leadership movement's contribution on the political arena. That depicts our relevance, and we are moving forward because we see the relevance.
Are you congratulating the Upnd for the win in Kasama?
Well, when we get into the game, in these elections, there is always a winner. And whoever works hard, they will get. Like we congratulated the FDD for winning the Chawama constituency. And we think that this time around, it has gone to the ruling party. Although there are so many other concerns that we may have as observers. We saw the airlifting of ballot papers. We saw chasing away of other opposition political parties in the election booths. That is a source of concern on our part. and we feel that the UPND may not have won that seat genuinely because of these concerns, but we are yet to investigate and understand what was happening on the ground.
So you can congratulate them?
We are still getting more information. There are so many suspicious issues that we feel that as part of the opposition, we would be worrying, because it doesn't matter whether we have participated or not, we want a free and fair election. So where we hear that actually members of the FDD were kicked out of a polling station, we may not feel that justice is being served. So those are some of the concerns that we have as leadership movement. We hope to get all the information on the ground. Then we are going to congratulate the UPND if we feel that what was going on there was justified, was fair to all sides, the opposition that participated. However, we feel that by and large, we didn't experience much violence, except for those a few things, of which we credit the ruling party for not seeing so much violence like previously. That is progress on the part of democracy, and as leadership movement, we want to see the same thing happen as we experienced in Chawama, because in Chawama we didn't see violence. Like, imagine if those elections were taking place before 2021, you would see machete carrying thugs, and you can't campaign in that area. But this time around, there was peace, and we all campaigned. The message was received with mixed feelings, and the results reflected as such.
What is your overall assessment in Chawama? It's good that you talk about Chawama, because your candidate, Mtazana, came out as one who was a favorite in Chawama. What went wrong? We saw you later even throwing a party for the 100 votes, and people describe you as one of the most generous leaders from the opposition, going back to the constituency and thanking the 100 voters. But what really would you say went wrong in that election?
Well, when you go into an election, many people, everyone is campaigning. People are campaigning with various messages on the ground. When you look at the Chawama by-election, by and large, it was as a result of the removal of Tasila Lungu from that position. And the Chawama residents, they had an issue with that. Let's be honest. The Chawama residents felt like it was unfair for Tasila Lungu to lose that seat. And the Chawama residents also felt that it is the way we have treated Edgar Chagwa Lungu was very unfair by not having him buried up to now, hitherto. So the inclination of a vote was towards anybody who is sympathetic with the fact that the government hasn't been fair to the Lungu family and all that. So when you go with a message that really looks at development, like our candidate had, the message was about development in Chawama. The people in Chawama didn't care so much about development. Moreover, when you say Tasila Lungu didn't do much for the people of Chawama, that was considered an insult to the Chawama residents. So for those politicians...
So you really miscalculated this election on your part, and you are blaming yourselves for not having...
Listen, it's not about miscalculations. We are leaders. This is why leadership movement, we are leaders. We are not there to go on the ground to sing the songs of the people, even when it's about legacy. how are they going to remember us 10 years from now? I can give you an example where things have been popular, then 10 years from now you laugh at the decisions. I can give you an example of Frederick Chiluba, for instance. When he won, he came into power, got Lacson Intani in the tunnels, and was showing the tunnels of the most sacred land, office of the land, that we have tunnels, they move here, there, and people were clapping that Chiluba is a political genius and engineer. And the few people who were disgusted with such type of behavior could not be heard. Later today, have you ever seen such a video? Everyone is ashamed when he sees State House being portrayed with all the tunnels because that is state secret. The same applies to what is happening in, politicians will take that as an advantage. You go there and tell them, oh, these people have not buried Lungu. Lungu should be buried outside there. But is that the kind of message that we can buy and be remembered 10 years, 50 years from now? Lungu must be buried here in Zambia. Whether, for whatever reason, we need to unite as a nation and honor the head of state, the former head of state. But because people would buy into the agenda that, oh, Lungu somehow should be buried elsewhere because he was mistreated, that is against the culture of this country. When you go, for instance, my father passed away when I had just gotten my grade 12 results. He passed on. Imagine if I said the whole year I'll be just mourning my father. I will not do anything. I will not apply. I wouldn't be where I am today. I moved on, applied for sponsorship. I went to Russia, went to South Korea, life moved on. But I had him in my heart. I was mourning in my heart. But the Chawama residents wanted to believe that you can allow a member of parliament to go and stay to infinity without working because he's mourning his father, who has never lost his father.
Let's talk about...
So those are some of the things that as a principled leader, we wouldn't buy into that. We would tell the Zambian people the truth. Whether they like it, they give us 100 votes, it doesn't matter. Because 10 years from now, 100 years from now, they will say, these were leaders who wanted the right thing. You cannot allow someone to stay for 1 year to infinity. He's mourning his father, who has never lost his father. That is the bone of contention. And those Chawama residents chose to move to the tune of lies. And we accept that. So we are not losing our principles here. With the 100 votes, we appreciated those people, and we thanked them, and we are moving on. And we continue to be leaders who are principled.
Let's talk about opposition unity. There's been great call for you, the opposition, to unite. In fact, political analysts say that there's no single political party in the country at the moment that is so strong enough to oust the Upnd ahead of the August elections. Looking at the elections of Kasama, Upnd got 17,647, then FDD over 14,000, and then we had CF, which got 4,405. If you combine the two, FDD and CF, obviously they would have surpassed the election result for UPND. A great call for unity suggests that you forgo your political, you forgo your ambitions and go in a by-election together, go into the general election together. We've not seen you, particularly yourself, Dr. Richard Silumbe, entertaining the idea of an alliance. Why is that so? And do you see it as important for the opposition to go in together ahead of the elections in August?
First of all, the reason why today we cannot accept or we do not concur with the idea of coming together because we define principle. For instance, others do not believe that we as a nation must focus on production. We need ZNS to be productive in the area of mining, in the area of agriculture and all that. Each political party has its own agenda. So as of today, the coming together, wherever in Bemba they say, where people come together, there must be something in common. It's not just a matter of coming together for the sake of removing HH. HH can come out whether we have come together or not if Zambians have decided. For example, I can just give you the statistics that are there. When you look at those statistics in Kasama, it already tells you that the UPND cannot get a 50+1. So if CF stands, all of us we stand, whichever amount, whether all of these other leaders who feel like they can lead the country stand, still the UPND will be on a disadvantage because, first of all, they are not going to achieve a 50+1. And what does that entail? It entails that now we are going into a round two. Really? At that time, you don't even need an alliance because everyone will know that it's either we put the government in power or we remove them with one candidate that becomes the second. So it's not even an issue of all come together. Either way, someone who gets second from HH will have to run with it. And at that moment, you are going to see that if the opposition has a large amount, like as it is, then the UPND we are very.
We've now opened the phone lines. As we pick calls, Dr. Richard Silumbe, do you believe that the UPND in the elections in August will not manage to garner the 50+1 threshold that is required for a candidate to win?
I very much doubt that they would. We have people on the ground. We know the impact of what they have done, the UPND, to the Zambian people in terms of development, in terms of the so-called CDF that people don't even feel it, and the idea that they can reach 50+1 is very doubtful. I very much doubt that the UPND can garner 50+1. What will happen is, whether there is an alliance or no alliance, the biggest enemy of the UPND is the Zambian people. You have seen how they are dripping votes. They can drip to whoever they want. But then, in the second round, what will happen is there will be an opposition and the UPND. At that time, obviously, the people who voted for Dr. Richard Silumbe, they see that Dr. Richard Silumbe is not on the ballot. What are they going to do? If they don't like the government, the ruling party, they are going to vote for that opposition. And that is where the threat is. For the UPND, they should be thinking in serious worry right now.
Where do you
doing
think,
their homework
as an opposition,
as of today,
that is an alternative, the next alternative, or a government in waiting? Where do you think the opposition, or the ruling party, has gotten it wrong?
They have gotten it wrong because whilst their mandate was based on ensuring that every service is felt by the Zambian people, they were counting statistics. They were talking about how much the dollar has come down. They were talking about how much the inflation has reduced. They were talking about statistics that do not have the impact in people's lives. That is where they got it wrong. They should have focused on things that are tangible. How much, for instance, maize are we cultivating? How much is ZNS cranking out in terms of mealie meal? How much fertilizer are we producing that is reaching to the people there and coming down in terms of cost? How many jobs are we cranking out for every Zambian, not only for teachers? You can't talk about 30,000 teachers and 14,000 nurses and say we have done everything, and you say Kwenyu. You are really mistaken. You are really wrong. I wish they could listen to the leadership movement, because from day one we told them ZNS must be opened. Forget about the grade 12 certificates. Roll out a ZNS program that will absorb as many people as possible into production. And they never listened. They said they are economists. They were thinking about how much inflation will reduce and all that.
Well, they said they were restructuring the debt. They said that they were cleaning the mess of the Patriotic Front because this country was plunged into so much debt. But 2 to 3 years down the line, I mean, they introduced free education up to grade 12. They restored meal allowances for students. They increased the CDF. And these are things that the UPND boast about. They have put many children in schools. Millions of children have gone back to school. It doesn't matter whether they're sitting on the floor or not, but a child today is in school. Shouldn't these be positive gains that we must appreciate the government
when
for?
you talk about education, in the hierarchy of needs, you have done at least tertiary education. It will tell you that Maslow's law, hierarchy of needs, at the base is food, followed by safety. Then other things like love, education, self-actualization. So the larger community of the Zambian people are focusing on food. The first thing that they should have done is to deal with the food issue, which they have not done. They're talking about education. Imagine you are in a impoverished society and you're talking about education. You must be out of your mind. You need to look at the hierarchy of needs. What do those people want? Zambians would appreciate a lot if we focused on meal. The meal price goes down better than what they had in the PF. That would have been the biggest impact that they would be appreciating now.
Let's pick Kennedy, who's calling us as our first caller. Kennedy, good evening, and you're through to Diamond Live. Please go ahead with your contribution or question.
Good evening, please. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, the panel, even the president talking.
Yes, good evening.
You see, I would go back to the Kasama by-election. I feel it is something that is understood, much that even when the president, Agnesha Banda, was saying people cannot celebrate. People can celebrate because that Kasama has been a stronghold for PF. So, and the UPND winning that by-election is a plus. And it shows that they have penetrated into that province. Now, what it is here, we are Zambians. And when we are Zambians, leadership should be appreciated when they are doing the right thing. It's not like where people would want even to blame where someone is doing well. You know, like when Banda was saying Munduile is not taking over the FDD leadership. Let's talk, for example, Munduile is PF. And the PF, according to Tonsa Alliance, they have expelled PF from the alliance. Now Munduile, who is representing PF, is already there. Now, which party is he going to represent to that election in the Tonsa Alliance? Meaning that Munduile, Ignatius Banda, who contested as vice president, he will leave for Munduile to take over FDD. That is logical. Because if Tonsa Alliance said, this one, PF is out, but how do they accommodate someone who is affiliated to PF?
In conclusion, Mr. Kenneth.
Yes. I go on?
Yeah, conclude.
So now, coming to the president on the platform now, I feel leadership is logic and also focus. There is no way one can come in and say, me, I'm a leader, I should not be concerned with losses. Because what you need is to lead. And the leading goes with the majority. If you have the minority, even when you say you have got good policies, whatever, as long as you will not make a factor in terms of leading the country, no one will remember you. So what I would maybe advise him is, let him associate with people that can help him to who members, so that his ideologies can be heard and then be applied after he has become a leader. Of course, you can advise. advise people, get your advice, and employ it in their rule. That one will make a credit. But the credit will be given to the one leading, not you who has advised.
Thank you. Kenneth Solochi. We would like to allow other callers as well. Mr. President, you'd like to respond to that? You need to associate with other political parties for your ideologies to be out there. Do you agree with that?
Just imagine if UPND, which was formed in 1998, if it said that it has to disband or to get into other things. But what has happened to UPND? UPND has most often been consistent. And because they had that principle, and they are where they are today. So the problem is, when you are so desperate about ruling the country, that is where the problem comes in. All these people you are talking about who are saying come together is because of desperation. There is so much desperation. It's just about getting into power and all that. No wonder we can't even provide good leadership to this country.
Aren't you desperate yourself?
I'm not desperate. This is why I'm telling you that there are some principles that you need to focus. And this is what we are seeing in other countries. They have stable leadership that is able to say this is not correct. But you want leaders who will be appeasing the people, even when the masses are going in the wrong direction. Just because it's about winning. It's not all about winning an election. This is why I'm telling you today, because everyone thinks that when this one stands, that one stands, then we are done, then we are not going to win. We are still going to win as a people. It doesn't matter who stands. He's talking about the vehicle which Mundubira is going to use. There are so many political parties. You go to ECZ, they are going to tell you that there are more than 100 political parties right now. Go to Registrar of Societies. So there are so many political parties. Anybody can stand. And
would you accept your political party to be used as a special purpose vehicle in the coming election?
Not of course, because we know that there are other people there who are willing. Others have even approached them to say, you can use this political party. We as leadership movement, our political party is occupied. It's not for sale. So, but we are not scared that we want to stop everyone from participating. Let everyone participate. This is democracy. I wonder sometimes what is wrong with the masses. The same people who were marching in 1991 that they want multi-party democracy, suddenly they go crazy in saying we need only 2 people. Why? Democracy must be practiced at all levels. Round 1, everyone stands. Let Hari Kalaba stand. Let Given Rubinda stand. Let Mundubira stand. Let everyone stand. Whoever will surpass others, that's how you actually measure popularity. Popularity is not by saying, no, you can't. Just join your friends. No. Let everyone see now the way you have portrayed those results. Then now you can say that, okay, FDD will now run with UPND in the second round. And then all these other political parties, opposition, they will support the opposition. How carried the day.
How prepared is the leadership movement for this year's general election?
We are very prepared, as we have been all the time. We are going to stand. We are going to have a candidate there. Probably we are going to have councillors. We are going to have candidates for MP and many other positions, because we are a political party. We are an organization. So make no mistake by the dust that is rising today that political parties should die because people are desperate. They just want to remove HH. For instance, we kill every incubating political party. That is not the right way to go. We need democracy. We need political parties to continue to thrive. There must be preservation of identity. When we go into an election, the winners will come up and then they will run with the ruling party.
It's only 6 months to the
and
election.
Then afterwards, the winner will emerge.
It's only 6 months to the election, Mr. President.
The nation is not ending today. It's not ending in 2026. We want the leadership movement to exist in 2031. We want the leadership movement to exist in 2041 and going forward. That is the position of the leadership movement. As for these other people, personally, I feel that all these people who feel that they can stand, they can provide leadership, let Zambians see them. It is not wrong to stand. That person who is telling you that, oh, everyone should join, they are just selfish, they have only self-interest. Those are the selfish people. Because we fought for a multi-party democracy. So why should people say no one should stand? Why should you stop others? What are you up to? 2021, it was about Edgar Chagwalungu and only Upnd. You want to turn even 2026 into that nonsensical circus of only two people. What type of a society are you? You need to see other leaders, other qualities, and so on and so forth. It's not about removing one party. If you want to remove HH today, so desperate, why did you vote for him? Just a few years ago, you were busy. No, to Arabica Pofio, you win, or you win. Now you, suddenly the eyes have opened. Again, the desperation gets in. And you want again to remove everyone. You just want one person. That is unacceptable.
Could you speaking like that?
And we need to see democracy thrive. This is why political parties exist. Is to exercise democracy, to go in the game. Imagine if in football, World Cup, they just say, oh, we know that Morocco is the smartest team. These others, they will not participate. Let's just go to the finals. That is what we are talking about. Now, why shouldn't people realize for once? Because we don't have leaders. This is why when a nation has got no leaders, they are moved by masses who have, it's like blind people leading the nation. We need leaders who can see further than what anyone can see. This is what leadership is about. We need preliminaries. Out of these oppositions, they will rise one. Then that person will stand with the ruling party. And then out of that, we are going to have a leader. Why should we kill all these who want to participate? It's because of selfishness. They are busy calling, oh, Munduwira is selfish. The selfish people are those who do not want him to participate, to exercise his democracy. Because by and large, much of our society is very selfish. No wonder they can be bought like cabbages on the market, like eggs and all that.
Are people buying into the message of the leadership movement? Because it seems to many that it's been difficult for you to penetrate a councillor at ward level, a member of parliament, and now we're going into a general election. Has it been difficult to sell your message around production? You're talking reopening ZNS and so on. Perhaps you need to change your strategy.
No, it's not about changing the strategy. It's about spending more time re-educating the masses, spending more time re-educating the nation about the principles that can bring about development. You know, people know what can bring us development. What can bring us development are policies that we are seeing in Burkina Faso, where production is the name of the game, where young people are recruited in ZNS, in national service, and they are producing. Everyone has got something to do to contribute to the development of their country. So people choose to give a blind eye and play circus in a nation like this, where people don't have any agenda. It's just about removing this one. They vote for someone who doesn't even have an agenda and expect changes. Then they get disappointed. Once they are disappointed, they remove that leader again with all the frustration without even seeing which other leader they are putting, just like that, because we lack foresight.
It's good you're speaking about ideas.
So as for the leadership movement, it's not about how quickly we do these things. It's about, because we are in a democracy. We are, of course, not like Burkina Faso. We are in a democracy. So it's about selling the agenda. As to how long it will take, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because
it's good
this generation, this generation that brought about the UPND, sooner or later will phase out. There will come another generation that will say, this whole political scheme hasn't been working. Let's try another political scheme that centers on everybody contributing to the development of the country through production. And then that society will be ready.
With the last 4 minutes that are remaining with you, I love the fact that you're speaking politics of ideas. President Hakainde Hichilema has been on record challenging you, the opposition, that let the opposition tell us what alternative they have to free education. Let the opposition tell us what alternative they have for increased CDF. Let the opposition tell us what alternative they have for all these good policies that President Hakainde Hichilema and his government have put in place. Perhaps maybe it's time for us to hear from you what alternative you have, for example, to free education, for example, to increase CDF, and all these other strategies that the UPND have been using to develop the country.
So let me tell you, because this is what I've been saying. If you invest money in the first hierarchy of needs, in this case food, imagine if CDF was money going to farmers and producers. Imagine anybody who has a piece of land, an hectare, gets CDF and produces his food or his agro products. Imagine that CDF was injected in productive things. We wouldn't be where we are today. But they have chosen to use CDF for a circus, buying police vehicles, doing 1x3 blocks that don't even give an impact to the Zambian people. The Zambian people are feeling the poverty because the first hierarchy of needs hasn't been saved. And their focus should have been on the first hierarchy of needs. But as long as the first hierarchy of needs that relates to food, the cost of things that they want to consume is not settled, there is no development. And that is why, as leadership movement, we are saying we have the 5 beta kappa key to development because our target is the first hierarchy of needs. This is why we're talking about ZNS production, ZNS state farms. We are talking about ZNS mines. You cannot hand over all our minerals to foreigners. You are chasing those poor foreigners who are coming from Somalia. Yes, it's okay, you can chase them, but don't stop the Zambians from participating in mining. Don't chase the Zambians from Mufumbo and bring another foreigner secretly to dig the gold. You are betraying the nation because Mopani has been given to foreigners. All these people, no matter how good the digits, economic digits show you, Zambians will be angry because they are not feeling the impact.
We have to close, unfortunately. That's all we could accommodate, Mr. President, on tonight's edition of Diamond Live. The leadership movement, led by Dr. Richard Silumbe, has been our guest, but also we featured Chifumu Banda, who's leader of the FDD. My name is Cheswa Kapasa.
On behalf of Chimweka Chileshe, thank you so much for watching. My name is Andrew Mwansa. See you again on Monday at exactly 21:15 and on Sunday for Costa at also exactly 21:15. Good night for now.
Good night.